the RDR hype train. Is it justified? At this point, I would say unequivocally yes. If anything, there should be more hype for this guy. Just look at the resume. 20-2, 1 FC double champ, with his only losses coming to the juiciest Russian 1 championship had to offer. Seriously, this guy had more picograms than the prime John Jones. The question that seems to be in many fans' minds is, what are these 17 non-UFC wins worth? Is Reinier De Ridder a legitimate title contender, or will he get fraud-checked in the upper echelons of the UFC's middleweight division? Well, this Saturday, we find out with the perfect test. Enter Robert Whittaker, the former champ and perennial title contender. If you look back across the Reaper's 18 UFC fights at 185 pounds, you'll find a strong trend in his 16 unique opponents. The guys that beat Whittaker, few that there are all champions, or in Khamzat's case, soon to fight for a championship, one in which he is currently the betting favorite over the defending champion, Dricus du Plessis. You can see a similar contrast in his wins too, with the closer or harder fought victories being against guys that fought for the belt, like Yoel Romero. Robert Whittaker, unfortunately, has become the highest level of gatekeeper as of late. For a while there, Whittaker really embodied the phrase, best of the rest. He literally has wins over the other 4 guys Adesanya successfully defended his title against. In a world without Izzy, Whittaker would have been a dominant reigning champion, with a resume only second to Anderson Silva in the 185-pound division. But lately he's been the guy you have to beat to get to the title. And I mean that with no disrespect. I'm a huge Robert Whittaker fan, just like everyone else. Everyone loves Bobby Knuckles. Your mom loves Bobby Knuckles. Even Izzy seems to like him these days. So which category does RDR fit in? The Izzy, DDP, Khamzat club? Or the outclassed by Whittaker bunch? Well, it's a bit hard to say. I'm inclined to think the fight will be competitive even if RDR can't get the job done, based on his size and style alone. I mean, this guy is huge for 185, and Whittaker has always been on the smaller end for a 185er. There is no way RDR would ever make welterweight, but looking at his resume, I wouldn't pick any of Reinier's wins to beat Whittaker. We all know styles make matchups, and MMA math isn't the end-all be-all, but seriously, RDR's best win is probably the Burmese Python, Ong La Nsong, who, if you aren't familiar with, I highly recommend. This dude's got a 93% finish rate in his 30 pro wins. However, he also has 15 losses to go with those 30 wins. The guys on RDR's resume just don't stack up to the guys Whittaker has been fighting for the last decade plus. Seriously, Robert Whittaker was fighting Stephen Thompson at welterweight in 2014 when RDR was a 1-0 light heavyweight looking to get his second pro fight in. But that does beg the question, who has more tread left on the tire? Well, it's kind of got to be RDR. Revisiting his 1 KO loss, you can't say the guy's chinny. It came at light heavyweight to a guy that, to quote Uncle Chael, had more juice than Tropicana, and it wasn't a one-shot layout, it was a beatdown. And no, that doesn't look great to watch when trying to pick this guy, but it does tell me I don't need to be worried about him getting randomly chinned by Robert Whittaker. But hey, this isn't a prediction video. I'm not here to break down the betting odds or explain how Whittaker's takedown defense stacks up against Reinier's wrestling. We are here to talk about the hype, or in this case, lack thereof. I firmly believe if the Dutch Knight gets it done this weekend, we will see an explosion in his hype and popularity. The fans respect Whittaker, as they should, and we respect him in a way that we do not Reinier's previous UFC opponents. I mean, everyone has been clowning Bo Nickal for getting demolished by RDR, which I get. This ginger cunt is very unlikable. But none of the hype seems to have transferred from Bo to RDR, or at best very little has. I mean, seriously, this guy doesn't even have 100,000 followers on Instagram yet. Everyone seems to remember Bo Nickal's shocking defeat more than the random Dutch guy who beat him. But for those of us who watch MMA outside of the UFC, it wasn't a shocking defeat. What was shocking were the betting odds for that fight. It really seemed like the only people picking RDR were one championship fanboys and people that didn't believe in the Bo Nickal hype job. Going through RDR's UFC run to this point, I'm just surprised more fans haven't gotten behind him yet. Maybe it's the personality, maybe it's his heavy grappling style. I'm not sure exactly. 3 fights, 3 finishes, with his 4th UFC fight coming within 1 year in the promotion. Fans love finishes and activity. I mean, that's where Khamzat's popularity all stems from, is it not? We all remember him nuking a couple people back-to-back in Fight Island in the course of a month. And speaking of Khamzat, oddly enough, him and RDR share 2 and soon to be 3 of the same opponents in GM3, Kevin Holland, and now Robert Whittaker. And while RDR didn't send GM3 to the Shadow Realm in round 1 like Khamzat, he did finish him with an arm triangle, which I think is impressive considering GM3 is a submission specialist. And he even had Mr. 4570 himself looking like he didn't belong in there with him. I realize these aren't elite names, but they're not randos either. For all the losses Kevin Holland has, he has some great wins on his record too, and most of those losses are by decision. Submitting him in the first round absolutely means something, and finishing him in general puts you alongside some great names. So I guess we'll see this weekend. This time around, odds makers are giving RDR a bit more respect, and while it may not be my most confident pick, I know where my money's going. But one thing is for sure. If Reinier De Ridder beats Robert Whittaker this Saturday in Abu Dhabi, especially by finish, RDR stock will go to the moon. Please consider subscribing. It's free. Thanks for watching.